Recording in progress.
Okay, everyone. I think we'll just to do some of the housekeeping before we get started, and then if a few people have to are still tuning in, then at least they don't miss anything. My name is Shane Mailman. I'm the Director of Programs and Operations with the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame. A couple of the housekeeping items. Just make sure that everyone mutes their mic. Everyone's been doing a great job of that so far. Feel free to leave your cameras on. Up in the corner, the right-hand corner, where you see the view on your Zoom. The best way to do this would be on the speaker view, so you could see the person as they talk. We are recording the session, so we will send that out to everyone afterwards, and we'll add it to all our other hero chats that's on our YouTube channel. So we're really excited today to have not one, but two Nova Scotia sport heroes and Olympic gold medalists. Also, with the launch of the Professional Women's Hockey League, timing couldn't be better. So I think at this point, I'm going to pass it off to Bruce Rainnie. He's a former Olympic broadcaster and our current CEO at the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame. And he can work his magic. Okay, off to you, Bruce.
All right, Shane, thank you. Welcome, everyone. At last count, we had about 250 schools on this call this morning. So it's really neat to think that through technology, we can talk to maybe 7,000, 7,500 Nova Scotia school students. And you're really going to enjoy it. We have two Nova Scotia Sport, future members of the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame, currently very active in their chosen sport. We have Blayre Turnbull, Nova Scotia, and Troy Ryan of Spryfield, Nova Scotia. And it's all to be the most new news of the day, the most pressing news of the day. And we just learned yesterday, and Blayre, if you want to chime in first here, that you're going to play a big role with the NHL All-Star Weekend, February 3rd in Toronto. So welcome to the chat, and can you tell us how you'll be involved in the NHL All-Star game this year?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having Troy and us here. I think we're both pretty excited to hang out and speak with all of you. Yeah, I found out a few weeks ago that I was going to be one of the representatives from my team here in Toronto that gets to attend the NHL All-Star game. So at that game, there will be a PWHL 3-on-3 showcase. So I'll be participating in that.
All right, Blayre is the captain of the Toronto PWHL franchise, and we look forward to seeing her there. Troy, I want to welcome you as well, and I want to start with some questions here. We got a lot from schools all across the province, including a few from A.G. Bailey Memorial in New Glasgow, and I see Blayre smiling. I think she knows that school. Troy, I'll start with you. There were a lot of questions like this one from Artie, who asks, at what age did you become involved with hockey? How did it happen? So I'll start with Troy.
Yeah, thanks again for having us. To echo Blayre's comments, we're so excited about this, and so excited to just see so many schools represented and so many young kids that we can have a chat with. And Blayre is a great role model for both the young girls and the young guys on this call. So couldn't get a better person to be on the call as Blayre. For me, with hockey, like many people in Nova Scotia, it all started with me playing the game at a young age. I think I started mostly on the ponds when I was, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. And I believe I started playing organized hockey for the Chebucto Atlantics organization out in Spryfield, I think when I was 6 years old. So that's when the passion started to grow. It started on the ponds. It transferred to the school system and then into organized minor hockey. And that's where I got the passion to play as well as the passion to coach.
Hey, Blayre, that same question for you. At what age do you remember starting to play and love hockey?
I started playing when I was 5. I think I started skating when I was 2 or 3, just because there was a big pond at the end of my street. So everyone from the neighborhood and their parents would always take our skates down to the pond whenever it froze over. So that's how I got my start. And then a lot of my older cousins played hockey and my dad was a hockey coach. So it was pretty easy for me to get involved and for me to fall in love with the game.
Blayre, I'll stay with you because we have questions from the grade 4-5 class at Scottsburn Elementary. I believe the teacher is Sarah Grant. I'm here for you. It's a two-parter. Do you like being A, and B, what are your responsibilities as captain?
Yeah, I think being a captain or a leader in any organization is a huge honor, and it's something that I take a lot of pride in. And the biggest thing for me when I was named captain was to make sure that I didn't change anything about who I am. So I think it's a really important role and one that can have a huge impact on your teammates and the organization as a whole. So it's one that I take a lot of pride in. But the good thing about being a captain on a sports team is that you get to work with so many other leaders too. So we have a great leadership group. There's 6 of us in the leadership group, and I'm the only one that has the honor to wear the C. So it's a responsibility that I don't take lightly, and one that I know every day my teammates are looking up to me and making sure that I'm the one that is leading by example. So they know who to follow and what to do in certain situations. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with being a leader.
Sounds like Toronto has a great captain, no doubt. I know your coach would agree. Troy, here's one for you from that same school, Scottsburn Elementary. I love this question. It's kind of wide open. You can go anywhere with it. Fun is it to coach the level of hockey you're coaching?
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, obviously, you just heard Blayre speak of the type of leader that she is. So for me to be surrounded by high performance people and high performance athletes on a daily basis, it keeps me somewhat young. It keeps me passionate about the game and optimistic about the direction the game's going. But Blayre is one of those players, and a lot of the leaders that I've had in the past, they'll be the first one to tell me if things aren't going fun. So if I'm maybe being too serious or too direct, our leadership group will put me in place and make sure that we're bringing fun to the game and fun to the ice every day. So if you know, it ultimately it's a game. It comes with some pressure, but the best part of the game is that you have to enjoy it. If you're going to play well or play to the best of your ability or be a good teammate, you have to enjoy coming to the rink every day.
Blayre, a question here from the 5-6 Wells class at Sir Charles Tupper Elementary School in Halifax. The question is, what was female hockey growing up, and did you have to kind of play with the boys at some point in your career?
Yeah, I actually played boys hockey until I was 15 because I didn't really have the option to play girls hockey back home. So I think luckily now the girls game has really grown in Nova Scotia, and I know there's so many more opportunities for girls to be involved in the sport, which is awesome. But when I was a kid, I did have to play boys hockey until I was 15. And then at that time I made the switch over because it was the first year that the Nova Scotia Major Midget U18 Girls League was starting up. So I got to play in that for a year, and then I went off to prep school in Minnesota for grade 11 and 12. But yeah, when I was a kid, girls hockey wasn't really a thing. So to come home in the summer and to run a hockey camp that's full of so many young girls who are playing hockey on all girls teams and all female organizations is something that's really exciting and awesome to see.
Yeah, the growth has been exponential since you were a kid, which is great. Hey, Coach Ryan, a little kid here who obviously knows the evolution of a lot of coaches. Many coaches play in the Q or the NHL first before they coach. What was your particular evolution from player to coach?
Yeah, it's a good question. I actually probably wasn't at the level to get to play at the major junior level or to play professional hockey. So early on, I played at the junior A level locally in Halifax, and then had the opportunity to play at the University of New Brunswick and St. Mary's University, where honestly, I probably got my passion for coaching because of the coaches that I had the opportunity to work under there. So although a lot of players that, play professionally or play at a high level end up becoming great coaches. I don't believe it really matters. I think if you're passionate about what you do as a coach and you're passionate about the players you get an opportunity to coach, it doesn't necessarily matter what level of hockey you get to. you know, so I started, I think it was first or second year university, I really started to show a passion for coaching. So I asked a lot of questions to my coaches and started to kind of hone my trade. So yeah, I never played major junior, never played pro, but always had a passion for coaching as I grew through the ranks.
All right. Thank you, Troy. Listen, Blayre, this one is from the grade 4-5 class at Hilden Elementary, Morgan Ward's class. And this is a tough one for you because you've had a lot of these, but what's the favorite team you ever played for?
That is hard. I don't know if there's just one, but the first team that comes to mind is the Olympic team that I won a gold medal with. And I would say that winning a gold medal probably puts it at the top of my list, but there's so many other things that make that team so great. It was a really challenging year for us training wise. So it was during COVID and everybody on our team moved to Calgary to train together for the season, but we went through so many obstacles before we went to Beijing to compete at the Olympics. We had to modify our training. We had to figure out how we would be able to play games safely in an environment where we weren't at risk of getting sick. And then it was inevitable that most people on the team did get COVID at some point throughout the season. So there was always the risk of how people return to playing after having COVID because there were so many unknowns about the illness at that time. And there were just so many things that we went through as a group, but the way that we came together and the product that we put on the ice at the Olympics was unbelievable. And I don't think I will ever be part of a team that played as well as we did in the 2022 Olympics.
Yeah, that was a great memory for anybody who played or watched those for sure. So congrats on that belatedly. Troy, same school, Hilden Elementary. Here's a young guy named JB who wants to take advantage of having a great hockey coach on this chat. What can I do to make my shot better, coach?
That's a great question. I think one of the biggest things is just, you know, have a passion for getting better, practice it as much as you can. I actually had a kid I used to coach years ago that instead of using a big shooting pad off ice, he shortened the shooting pad so his release would have to be, he forced himself to be quicker and release it faster. So I think a bucket of pucks and a little place to shoot would go a long way. And then the other thing that I would say is for someone like Blayre and people we coach like Poulin, in practice, I don't think they ever take a shot off. So every time they come down on a goalie, whether it's in practice or warm up, they're trying to rip it as hard as they possibly can instead of just kind of, you know, sifting one through. So they're constantly working on their shot, whether it's in practice, whether it's off ice, or whether it's in a game. So just keep practicing, and I think good things will happen.
Good advice there from the coach. Blayre, this one is from Cumberland North Academy, the grade 5 French immersion class. What is it like to play with Carly Jackson, our town hero?
She's awesome. I met Carly a while ago, but we didn't really keep in touch or anything like that. But I've followed her hockey journey throughout the years, and to see the journey that she's taken to get to the PWHL has been awesome. And I think the best part about Carly is how good of a teammate and how good of a person she is. So when I say that, I mean that she consistently brings a positive attitude and good energy to the rink every single day. And she's someone that everybody loves having around. She lightens the mood, but she still puts in the work. I think her effort level is second to none, but the best thing about Carly is how good she makes others feel.
Yeah, there's a pretty large Nova Scotia contingent in the PWHL now, which is awesome to see. Coach, this question is from the Ready class, the grade 5 Ready class at a Cole Grosvenor Wentworth Elementary School. Can you talk about the differences in the rules between men's hockey and women's hockey at the level you coach?
Yeah, right now, the rules, there's not a whole lot of difference. This league has taken huge strides in raising the level of physicality. So right now our game is being officiated by AHL and NHL officials. And they are actually officiating the rules by the true meaning of the rules. So although there's not head-to-head physicality in the women's game, there's plenty of contact, and at times, sometimes more contact and more physicality than there is in the men's game. And then the only other thing is just right now the women still wear a full face mask, and fighting is not, I mean, obviously fighting is getting removed from the men's game as it should, but it's not necessarily part of the women's game right now. But I think anybody who's been watching, any of the international play, Canada versus US, or watching any of these professional games in the PWHL, they would say that the physicality matched that of the NHL, and that's a typical question that we receive. So the physicality is right up there, and the rules are very, very similar.
Blayre, from Cabot Education Center, the grade 9 English class, and this one will let you reflect a little bit. Did you ever think there would be a women's professional hockey league?
I would say not up until a couple years ago. So majority of my life, I would say the only professional league that we really saw was the NHL. So it was hard for us to think that we would ever have a professional place to play with there not being a professional league. So over the past few years, it's been challenging at times, but the fact that we do have a professional league now has been extremely rewarding, because there's been so much work and effort and time that has gone into making this league. I know from the outside, it might seem like the league just came together over the last 6 or 7 months, but for us players, it's something that we've been working for and wanting for years. So when the Canadian Women's Hockey League folded in 2019, it was something that a group of players dedicated their time to creating. So all we needed was the right investor group and the right people to spearhead the project, to make sure that the league that we were going to create was something that will be around forever. And I think that's exactly what we've started here. So to be one of the first players to take part in this league is really special. And we're starting off in a really good place. And I can't wait to see where this league goes. I know it's just going to continue getting better and better. And the resources available for the athletes are going to grow and grow. And I think that 10 years from now, the league will look a lot different than it does right now, which is pretty amazing to think about.
Yeah, because it's off to such a great start. Listen, Ms. J. O'Coin from the grade 4 Hansport School class. Great question for both of you here. And Coach, we'll start with you. Even though you've been doing this for a long time, do you still get nervous before games?
Yeah, I definitely do. I find myself even more maybe attaching some emotions to the PWHL right now because of everything that's gone on, all the work behind the scenes that these athletes have done to make this possible. So I find myself often kind of trying to reflect and put myself in their shoes, and it's quite an emotional thing. As far as the nerves go, without a doubt, I think Blayre would tell you, I probably don't show any nerves a whole lot. I don't show a ton of emotion in front of the group, but behind the scenes, definitely some pacing, some trying to overanalyze at times. But yeah, I think nerves are important. I think if I didn't have nerves, I probably wouldn't have quite the passion that I do for the game. It's the nerves and the pressure that makes it special.
Blayre, what about for you? I know you've been playing the game for a long time too, but I'm sure you still get the nerves. Can you talk about that and how you deal with them and make them kind of work for you at times?
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I think every athlete or person that's in a high pressure moment or game definitely feels nerves. But I think it's about what you do with them and how you channel them that matters. I think there are times where you can definitely let them take over and it completely throws off your game. But I think if you can learn a technique to make the most of those nerves and turn them into a different type of energy, that's when things really work out for you. So for me, it's about trusting that I'm prepared and having confidence in myself and my abilities. But I also always remind myself to stay in the moment and stay present. And I think those things are key for me. We've played in a few big games recently with being part of the first ever PWHL game in history. And that was one where my nerves were definitely through the roof. There was a lot of stuff going on that day leading up to that moment of puck drop. And for me, it was all about staying present and staying in the moment and trusting that I'm prepared.
We had many questions of this variety, and I'll choose the one from Pine Ridge Middle School. And Coach, will put you on the spot here. A lot of kids want to know who's the best female hockey player you've ever seen? Who's the best male hockey player you've ever seen? Can you pick one from each?
You don't have to say me, Troy. It's okay.
Blayre Turnbull. You got to go Nova Scotia. So Blayre Turnbull and Sidney Crosby.
What makes them special, Coach?
Oh, wow. I think Blayre, you can see even in the way she talks, the passion she has for the game. Like a passion individually to improve, but a passion to be a good teammate and make her teammates better. The one thing I would say also from a leadership and a coaching point of view is she's always been very professional with me. If she has an opinion to share, she takes the time to have it, one-on-one with me and shares her opinion, and whatever we agree or disagree with, I always feel that we can be united when the message goes back to the group or goes to the coaching staff. So I think that makes Blayre such a special player. She's such a good mix of the finesse and the speed part of the game, but she also mixes in the power and the physicality and the difficult to play against. So I think that just separates her from so many people in the game. And then obviously Sidney Crosby, I mean, the track record speaks for itself. But I think when you look at both of them, they're even better people than they are players. And they're such great role models and representatives of Nova Scotia.
Well, when you say that, that's impressive because they're great players. So to be greater people than they are players is remarkable. So Blayre, the same question to you. Who's the best female player you've ever seen? Who's the best male player you've ever seen?
Female player, it would have to be Marie-Philippe Poulin. I think it goes without saying that she's the best player in the world. But the best thing about her is her work ethic. I think a lot of people just assume that she was born with all these natural talents, and I'm sure she was born with a lot of the things that she shows on the ice, I think, come very naturally to her. But I've never seen anyone work as hard as she does and put so much time and effort into being the best in the world. And what's special about her is that she's not just the best in the world at one thing. She's the best in the world at so many different things that make her so good. And for her to be as good as she is and have won so many gold medals and so many different awards as she's won, and to still be an amazing teammate and friend, and to be so down to earth and humble. She's a very special person and someone that it's just an honor to be her teammate. And I think I hope everyone on this call knows who she is, and if not, I think she's a great person for all of these kids to look up to, whether you're a girl or a boy. And then for the boys, I actually was lucky enough this summer to do a practice with some of the NHL guys from Nova Scotia. So I skated with Crosby and McKinnon, and to see their practice habits, I think it's really no wonder why they're two of the best in the world and two of the best in the NHL. All the details and habits that they approach practice with is pretty incredible. And if they messed up or made a mistake, like we all do, they would restart the rep and make sure that they got it right and made sure that the rep was the best that they could make it. So to see those practice habits still, when I think Sidney Crosby's 36 or 37 years old and Nathan McKinnon has won a Stanley Cup. So for those two guys being at the top of their game and being two of the best players in the NHL and have already accomplished so much, to see them still approaching practice with the mentality that they want to get better and they want to keep improving is something that I think is really cool.
Those are great answers. Troy, as we get set to wrap up here, anytime your bio is listed or your name is read on TV or on radio, it's always Troy Ryan from Nova Scotia. this beautiful little province. What does it mean to you to be Troy Ryan from Nova Scotia?
Yeah, it's huge. I think it's so important. I like anytime I've had some, big moments or special moments, and sometimes we get the opportunity to be in the media or sometimes we get on TV. And I think it's just a small little way to maybe connect with people that had an influence in my career, whether it's one of my school teachers that I grew up with or one of my, a coach that I had in the past. So it's just so nice to know that as someone's watching maybe the Olympic Games, a gold medal game in the Olympics, that people from back home can have a small connection to the Olympics. It's not something I ever envisioned that I would have the opportunity to be a part of. So if in a small way that simply being from Nova Scotia can make a connection to other people that had a major influence in my life and my journey, I love that. I love that I can connect with some people back home that were very influential for me in my journey.
Blayre, same sort of question for you. What does it mean to you to be from this beautiful province?
It's really special. It means a lot to me. I think my hockey journey has taken me all over the world, and I've lived in many different parts of the country. I've lived in to Minnesota and Wisconsin down in the States. But Nova Scotia will always be home, no matter where I go or where I live. I think it's a place that anytime I come home, it makes me miss it even more. And I think every person that grows up in Nova Scotia and then leaves the province, I think you automatically feel so proud to be from Nova Scotia, where everybody is so supportive and so welcoming. And I think going through this hockey journey without having so much support from the people of Nova Scotia, I don't know if I would have gotten to where I'm at now without that support and without everyone constantly reaching me out and sending me words of wisdom and encouragement anytime I needed it. I think being from Nova Scotia is really special, and I couldn't be more proud to be one of the first Nova Scotians to play in the Olympics for the women's hockey team, but also to play in the PWHL. And I know that there's a handful of us in this league now, and it gives all the young girls back home who are playing hockey, it gives them people to look up to and something to dream about. So I'm happy to be one of the first, but I know I won't be the last. So I think that part of it is really cool.
Beautiful answer. Final one for each of you. If you could leave the kids on the call today with either the best piece of advice you've ever heard or the best that you came up with yourself, just a great piece of advice, Troy, for the kids on the call today to help them through their formative years that are to come.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk a lot at with the national team and as well here in Toronto is, there's so many highs and lows that everybody will experience. And the one thing that we encourage everybody to do, whether you're a coach or an athlete, is just be a good teammate and try to actually reflect on what that potentially looks like. So whether it's on a team or whether it's in your class or whether it's just in your small friend group, always try to consider the people around you and what their potential needs are. And I think generally good things are going to happen. Like, the team that Blayre talked about going through all that adversity through the Olympic Games and through COVID, I honestly believe that it had a lot to do with skill and talent, but it really had to do with people kind of, focusing on each other and focusing internally and just worrying about being a good teammate and being a good person. And when you put yourself in that situations, generally good things can happen, or you can live with the results. So I've always encouraged every athlete that I get to coach is just be a good teammate and reflect that what that potentially looks like.
What a superb answer. Blayre, as a final thought to everybody today, that same sort of question, best advice you've ever heard or best advice you want to share, your choice.
Well, I think what Troy said is super important. The way that you make people feel and the impact you have on others, I think, is what people will always remember about you. But I'll go a bit of a different direction, and I'll say, no matter what you're doing, whether it's sport, band, anything, whatever you're passionate about, I think as long as you're really putting your best foot forward and giving it your best effort, you'll never be disappointed with the results. And I can say that having experienced being cut from teams and not getting results that we wanted. I've lost gold medal games. I've lost Olympic gold medal games, world championship games. I've lost in playoffs. I've been really upset with not accomplishing all the goals that I set out to accomplish. But when I think back to those times and I reflect, I'm never really disappointed because I know that I've always put in my best effort, and there's nothing more that I could do in those situations. So I think as long as you approach life with that kind of attitude, you'll never have regrets and you'll never be disappointed in yourself.
Wow, you could not have a better sentiment upon which to wrap up a chat. We knew, guys, that this would be great. It's tough to exceed great, but I think that Blayre and Troy exceeded great today. So on behalf of the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame, we know you're busy. You're playing pro hockey, for goodness sakes, but thank you for making time for the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame. Shane, I'll send it back to you to wrap it up with a bit of housekeeping and business. And on behalf of the Hall, guys, great job and thank you.
Yeah, no, again, thank you, Blayre and Troy, for taking the time out of your day to kind of deliver this message to all the students in Nova Scotia. It's really appreciated for us at the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame, but I'm sure it's appreciated by the teachers and the students. Thank you, Bruce, for taking the time to do this too. You always do a great job. Thank you to the teachers for thinking it was important enough to sign up for this. And last but not least, thank you for the students for listening and taking the time. There's a little thing we like to do with these is that right at the end, feel free to unmute your mics and let the students give a good big thank you to Troy and Blayre for taking the time to do this today. So feel free to do that.
Thanks again, guys. Thank you.
Yes, thanks everyone.
Yeah.